Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Gopi Chanda Vallabha, Jaya Giri Baradhari, Jaya Gopi Adhari, Yashodanandana Prajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Prajana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Sri Sri Radharadhanath ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jananjala Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Caitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hare Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we're going to read chapter 4 of the Transcendental Diaries of Srila Prabhupada. And before I start, let me please give me your blessing so that I might be able to say something that is beneficial and interesting to all of you. I also beg the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, my spiritual master, and also my teacher for many years for Bhagavad Gita. He is Grace Lokabandhu Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So, based on the life story of Srila Prabhupada in the form of his diaries, we understand in no uncertain terms that if we have faith in the Lord and His holy name, even impossible things become possible. So we're starting on that premise. So let's read what he has to say. On May 8th, 1976, and this is in Honolulu. So Magic Island has become the regular morning route Today, Prabhupada spoke repeatedly how scientists create illusions for people. He also noted how people have the sentiment to build a better world, not just for themselves, but for their grandchildren. Yet at the same time, they kill their own children in the womb. How crazy they are, he declared wryly, shaking his head. As we rounded the tip of the promontory means headland, like land jutting into the sea, he noticed a group of surfers out to catch the waves. He paused briefly to watch them, riding on their boards, falling off and struggling to swim out again for the next wave. He said that they would take births as fish in their next lives due to their absorption in water sports. So he quoted from Bhagavad Gita, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam yes. Terte atyadache ante kalevaram tam tam evati kuntaye sadatad bhava bhavita. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So these surfers, and he also calls them, he uses a pun and says, the surfers are sufferers. Sufferers, why? Because they are trying to enjoy the waves on their surfboards, and they are trying to go deep into the ocean, riding the waves, coming back and repeating that so many times. And in that way, because they are thinking about swimming and they want to enjoy that water sports, then Prabhupada says they might become fish in the next lifetime, so that they'll be free to swim as much as they want. And if they become fish, if they fall down from the human form, then it's going to take so many lifetimes for them to come back to the human form. And that is what he means by suffering. That surfing turns to suffering. Then, let's continue reading. Class continued with the verse 7 of the first chapter of the 6th canto, describing how a person takes with him the reactions created by the activities of this kaya, body, mana, mind, and vakya, words, into the next life where he suffers accordingly unless he makes suitable atonement. Therefore, Prabhupada said that murderers must be executed in order to free them from reactions of to their misdeeds. Otherwise, they will suffer very severely in their next lives, 4 times as greatly. One must follow the Dharma Sastras to counteract offenses. And he pointed out that if one follows Sastra, then he will not kill in the first place. He said that because Sat means injury, it is the government or the Kshatriya's duty to protect the citizens from anyone who is unnecessarily injuring bodies. Then he gave a broad vision of who should be protected. The tree has taken birth, the man has taken birth. Why simply man should be saved, not the cows, not the trees? He must be saved. Unnecessarily there cannot be any killing. Lord Christ also, thou shalt not kill. Yes, this is the beginning of religious life. If you are accustomed to kill somebody, either man, animal, tree, fish, or anything, there is no entrance to the religious life, because every living entity is the Son of God. So, from this we understand that we have to be very, very careful about how we go about doing things. And verse 27 of chapter 9 of Bhagavad Gita comes to mind, that whatever we do, whatever we say, whatever we eat, wherever we go, whatever we give away, we should do that in accordance to the Lord's instructions. So that is a very clear instruction for us. So everything that we do, everything that we say, we have to make sure, let's be like business people. Let's make sure that there's going to be a profit. That I don't want to do things to my detriment, where I'm going to make a loss. If I'm going to do something and I'm not going to gain anything, why should I even do it? So we're not talking about material gain, this is spiritual gain. So whatever I do, I must do it in such a way that I have this foresight to see that yes, I am going to benefit according to the scriptures, according to what Srila Prabhupada has promised us. There is going to be a profit, so let me do that. Instead of doing something where I know I'm going to actually go backward, like we said before, go down the ladder and take animal or bird form or something like that, and then it's going to take so many lifetimes to come back to the human form, which is the only form by which we can transcend the cycle of birth and death and go back to the spiritual world. And that is what we want. We all know this is a place of suffering. We experience that this is a place of suffering. And when we realize that, sometimes, we misconstrue suffering to be happiness, although it is short-lived. But after some time, then we realize that there is no real happiness. And then we have to be very conscious about, yes, I want to gain eternal happiness. And how is that possible? The instructions are there. Many of you are initiated, you know what the regulative principles are. You know that about chanting, the benefits of chanting the holy name. This is given to us by Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. All this comes just through this word, the pun on the word surfing to suffering. Giving the surfers as an example, he explained how the soul becomes contaminated by contact with different mixes of modes of material nature. Combining the words surfer and suffer, he made everyone laugh with an excellent and piercing pun. This morning, we are talking about the sufferers. What is called? The sea sufferers. Surfers, yes, I call sea sufferers. Yes, contamination. So in that next life, he will become a fish. He will be he'll be very free to dance in the ocean. He said, they would indeed get such a birth and then spend millions of lifetimes coming once again to the human form. Millions of lifetimes. I said hundreds. Prabhupada says millions it's going to take to come back to the human form. So we should not waste this human form. We've heard that so many times. This perhaps struck home to some of the audience, since a few young men in attendance had longish hair and were of the beach-going type. So now his conclusion was that we have a choice, either up or down. It's very clear. Either you want to go higher, you want to go to the spiritual world where there's eternal joy and bliss, or you want to take the chance of coming back to this material world where there's suffering. A little bit of joy interspaced with or lots of suffering, or all suffering only interspaced with a little bit of joy in between. Krishna offers us instruction so that we can go back home, back to Godhead. But we are not prepared to surrender. That is our material disease. If we do not surrender to Krishna and take his instruction, that is our choice. But if you like, you can make your life successful within a moment simply by surrendering to Krishna. Thank you very much. So that morning walk is over. Let's see what happens at breakfast. Breakfast for Pusta, Krishna Maharaj and myself consists of fresh mangoes, pineapples and halva. Srila Prabhupada is also enjoying fresh ripe fruits freely available in the neighborhood. Remarking on the delicious mangoes, he said that their juice should be boiled down and then dried in trays in the sun. He explained that this dried pulp can be stored for years, and when eaten with ground rice and milk is both palatable and nutritious. Srila Prabhupada made a thorough inspection of the temple grounds the other day and was pleased to note a proliferation of flowers and vegetables, all conscientiously grown by the temple gardener Kanvadasa. Taking an interest in every aspect of his work, Srila Prabhupada asked many questions. He noticed a small chili bush at the side of the temple. As he took his breakfast this morning, he sent me out to pick a few. They were very little, and I did not think they would be very strong. Prabhupada took a small bite of one and left it at the side of his plate. Several minutes later, he raised his eyebrows and said, "It is very hot." Concerned it might be burning his mouth, I asked if it was too hot, but he simply smiled. "No, chili means hot." So, whatever we eat, we discussed earlier, we have to be certain about that. And if we see what Prabhupada did, he tasted the chili and it was hot, and he put it aside. We too have to be like that. We have to be choosy. If we find that something is not palatable, we have to abandon it, not continue with it and get a uncomfortable or tasteless result. The next aspect, they discussed the deity of Kalya Krishna. Oh no, I missed out one verse, sorry. Now we come to the visit by Govinda Dasi. Govinda Dasi came to see Srila Prabhupada after his afternoon nap. She had been taking his request to work on the new deities for Fiji seriously, and she showed him clay models of Gaur-Nitai for approval. Her idea is to make an original mold and then to cast copies of the deity in a light but durable resinous material which looks like marble. Using this method, many deities can be made quickly and sent out to any temple on request. Prabhupada thought it was a very good idea. He liked the models and encouraged her to go ahead. They discussed the deity of Kalya Krishna. Prabhupada told her that Krishna should be dancing on the head of Kalya. And Govinda Dasi adopted several poses to get the correct hand and leg positions. When she stood on one leg, raised her left foot off the ground, and holding her right hand and thumb and forefinger joined to the other fingers extended, Srila Prabhupada laughed and said, "She has invented a new style of deity." He liked the pose and told her to go ahead and make it. So she made a special request. Prabhupada had asked the devotees to build a new temple on the open land next to the present building that they are planning to install the new Panchatattva deities. Govinda Dasi made the present ones from paper mache, which is beginning to deteriorate and they need to be replaced. Govinda Dasi asked if they could be given to her to worship because she was especially attached to them. Prabhupada agreed straight away and even gave her a letter confirming it, addressed to the local GBC and the temple president. So she requested, and she was carrying out the instructions nicely. She was asked to make these deities, and obviously Srila Prabhupada reciprocated with her. So if that happens, we can understand that we as well, if we are performing our devotional service nicely and in accordance with the Lord's instructions, then why won't the Lord reciprocate with us as well? So that is something to think about. So Prabhupada is very merciful, and Krishna is also merciful. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also merciful. So if we beg for their mercy, why will we not get it? Srila Prabhupada declared Sukadeva's cooking first class today. I am relieved. He is not only using a 3-tiered cooker to do dal, rice and bitter melon, but he has another 6 pots going at the same time, from which he makes 3 wet and 3 dry sabjis. Added to this is a very palatable lassi made by one of the ladies, which His Divine Grace said is very, very good. So from that description we can understand that prasadam has to be of a high standard, because prasadam is non-different from Krishna. The next note is, Srila Prabhupada is now feeling a little better. Obviously he must have been sick, so that's why they're saying he's feeling a little better. For the last couple of days he's been taking half tablets of diuretic medicine, and the swelling on his hands and feet has disappeared. As soon as he got the desired effect, he stopped taking the pills. What does that mean for us? We all experience illness at some time or another. So in order to perform our devotional service in the way that Krishna wants, we have to look after our health. So in the same way that Prabhupada took those tablets so that he could get better and he could do his Sri Sri Radha Radhanath Ki Jai. So we should take care of our health as well, so that we can perform our devotional service efficiently and swiftly. Because there are no visitors here in Honolulu, he spends most of his evening time reading and chanting on his new beads. We're talking about Srila Prabhupada. He is translating much more as well. And Pusta Krishna Swami is fully occupied all day long transcribing the tapes. So we go to May 9th, 1976, and here he alludes to grandchildren. Srila Prabhupada has a regular leela going on with Kusa Dasi's son, a toddler about 2 years old. With fair hair, porcelain-like skin and a quiet, gentle temperament, he is sober but quite delicate demeanor. Every morning after he greets the deities, Prabhupada takes a few drops of Chanamrita and the boy stands next to him. After washing his hand, Prabhupada sprinkles a few drops of water on the boy's head. After that he goes back to the temple room and sits on his Vyasasang to receive Guru Puja. As the devotees offer flowers one by one, the boy also steps forward. He slowly and carefully mounts the steps, all the while clutching a garland of pikaki flowers, small white bud-like jasmine flowers looking like carved ivory beads. He hands it over to Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada gives him the one that he is wearing. Then, equally carefully, he steps down, offers his dandavats and toddles back to his mother. No words are spoke during the entire exchange, though Prabhupada smiles to see the innocent exhibition of devotion. Innocent exhibition of devotion. So devotion is the essence, and even this little toddler is showing so much of devotion. That means his parents are training him well, and he recognizes the position of Srila Prabhupada. So that's why he behaves in that way. This morning, Prabhupada asked me his name. When I told him it was Atma Rama, he smiled and nodded his head. Yes, he appears just like a saintly person. So Prabhupada was pleased with that. And that gives us an idea, but not all of you, like some of us, me mainly, that when you have grandchildren, this is how you should train them. But you are heading there as well, and when your time comes, then you should make sure that you raised your grandchildren in such a way that they have some knowledge about Srila Prabhupada, about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, about the gurus, and about devotional service. Now we go to verse 8. During the class on verse 8, Prabhupada described material life as a diseased condition of the living being. Diseased condition. So this material life that we're living, aside from when we come to the temple and we try to do some service and take association of the devotees, it is a diseased condition. He said, we are all suffering because we have accepted a material body. And the cure for this disease is detachment. This was taught by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and the 6 Goswamis. He quoted Chanakya Pandit's summary of the principal attachments in life. In a family, 2 persons, the mother and the wife, if they are very good, then happy life. Chanakya Pandit therefore said, at home, if one has no mother, and if the wife is not very attached and does not speak very well, meaning does not like the husband on the whole, if such a wife is at home and mother is not there, then there cannot be happiness. But this happens in the Indian home. This is ideal Indian happy home, but in your country it is very rare. You see, this is the standard of happiness. So it starts with the kind mother, the helpful mother, the merciful mother, the caring mother, and the loving wife and helpful wife. But this is the standard of happiness. So if there is no mother and no good wife, then aranyam, tena grantavyam. Immediately he should give up home. Aranyam, he should go to the forest. For him, this home or the forest, it is the same. No difference between the two. If you don't have a good mother and a good wife at home. So the next section. During the previous morning walk, someone had mentioned the latest sports craze, hang gliding. So, by way of practical example, Prabhupada gave his view on this, amusing everyone and effectively illustrating his point. They have now discovered another way of happiness, flying in the air. Now the sufferers, or what it is called? Surfers, the devotees laughed. So, can you guess what he's going to say now? That if you want to hang glide, then you can become a bird in your next life and you can fly as much as you want. And then you come back to the position of suffering, you go back. It's going to take so many lifetimes to come back to the human form and be able to perform devotional service, to chant the holy names and get back to the spiritual world. That is not sufficient. Now they want to fly. You see, another discovery that is going on. Actually, they are manufacturing different ways of suffering. So therefore, that is our disease. They are so fools and rascals. They do not know how life is going on, how nature is working upon us. Everything is darkness. Therefore, Krishna consciousness is our only hope. It is not a story, it is a fact. So those who have come to Krishna consciousness, that means all of us, I request to take it very seriously and even read the books and make progress and simply try to understand Krishna. Then everything, all problems will be solved. Let's go back to this health issue now. There's another Pradyumna Prabhu. Pradyumna Dasa arrived this morning from Bombay. He will travel as a regular member of Srila Prabhupada's party to do the Sanskrit editing of the tape transcriptions before they are sent to Los Angeles. Pradyumna Prabhu has 6 large boils on his hips and buttocks and cannot sit down properly. He hadn't seen a doctor, so Srila Prabhupada told him to get medical treatment right away. We go back to that point about your health and medical treatment. He was very concerned and not happy that Pradyumna was neglecting his health. Later in the day, Pradyumna came back from the doctors with a large bottle of antibiotic, tetracycline, which he said he has to take every 4 hours for the next 10 days. So we should not neglect our health. This Pradyumna Dasa seemed to have been neglecting his boils, and Prabhupada set him on the right path and told him to get medical attention. That means we don't need anybody to tell us to maintain our health. When we don't feel well, we should make efforts to correct the situation. Controversy. This aspect has to do with some controversy. We were in Prabhupada's room in the late afternoon when Siddha Swarupa Maharaj came in. He sat in front of Prabhupada's desk, leaning on its corner with his elbow. Quite casually, I thought, Prabhupada pleasantly asked him, "So what is the difference between the two groups?" It was an indication that if there were any differences between ISKCON and Siddha's group, why not, while he is here, work to clear them up so that everyone can cooperate. So that passage seems to allude to a controversy between two groups, and this Siddha Swarup Maharaj seems to be the leader of that group. So since he came to visit Prabhupada, Prabhupada decided that they should resolve the differences. And that means we too, in our relationships, if there is some misunderstanding, if there is some controversy, then we should speak about it, try and eliminate the differences, and perform devotional service in the way that it was intended to be performed, with love and devotion. So he says, Siddha Swarup simply lowered his head. So this is the reaction of Siddha Swarupa. His bottom lip protruding. He ignored the overture. "Well, Prabhupada," he pouted, "I think Krishna will decide who is right and wrong." So we can see from that he is not ready to negotiate. He doesn't want to discuss the matter, and he doesn't want to come to some compromise. He seems completely negative to any proposal for cooperation, even from his own spiritual master. So we learn from that. Every incident that we're reading about in this diary has a lesson for us. So we too, we should negotiate, we should try to understand the next person's point of view, try to see why they behave in the way that they behave, and be very sympathetic and be very kind and tolerant and patient, and try to work through the problem so that we can come to the point of understanding each other. And my spiritual master always said, have good relationships. So if the relationship is good, obviously the togetherness is going to be there, going to work together, and then the devotional service is going to be of a high standard as well. You know, they used to say in the old days, many hands make light work. Over the last few days, Srila Prabhupada has been requesting the temple leaders to construct a new temple building on the side of our land. Despite Siddha's attitude, Srila Prabhupada attempted to encourage him to participate in the new project. So Prabhupada is not looking at the fault. He is trying to see how he can encourage him to get involved in devotional service, to do something for Krishna, not to be concerned about his own point of view and dwell on that, and in that way create a rift. He said that whatever differences existed could be resolved on the common platform of chanting the holy names of the Lord. But Siddha Swarupa merely invented one excuse after another why he could not participate. So we should not invent excuses as well. We should actually try to participate and get involved in whatever project or service there is to be done. Later, alone with Prabhupada, I asked about book distribution and deity worship. I asked why, if deity worship was the process for self-realization in the last yuga, do we have it now? Wasn't Sankirtana sufficient? So this question might have crossed our minds as well, because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying for this yuga it's Harinam Sankirtan, then what is the need for deity worship? So Prabhupada said, he said that he introduced worship of the deity because while there may arise differences of opinion about the distribution of books, on the point of deity worship, there was only one standard on which all must agree. This would therefore maintain the purity of the movement. So whatever decisions Prabhupada takes, he takes for the betterment and the purity of the movement. So if we want to assist Srila Prabhupada, we have to do the same. Irrespective of what our own preferences and choices are, we have to see that we act in such a way that it is for the good of the movement and for everybody around us. The next entry, the visit to Washington, D.C. on the 4th of July, American Independence Day, which this year is the bicentennial anniversary of the United States, is already on the itinerary. Prabhupada has spoken considerably about government and educational standards. And today, he sent a letter to the personal secretary of the President of the United States, suggesting that on this special occasion the government begin to teach the science of God to the American people. He emphasized that their constitution trusted in God. So why should they not include God in the curriculum? Or as part of the governance, so that people got access to God consciousness. If he took it up, it would be a great service to humanity. And he added that he was prepared to cooperate in this connection if the American government takes it very seriously. So Prabhupada went to the extent of even consulting with writing a letter to the president, not directly to the president, to the secretary, to see if this idea would be accepted that this God consciousness, Krishna consciousness should be spread to everybody through the government as well. Prabhupada is nothing if not bold, willing to try any avenue to spread Krishna consciousness on any scale. In his quest to salvage the planet from the degradation and godlessness, he is able to speak to hippies and dropouts or to the highest government officials. So look at that range. Hippies and dropouts and the high government officials. Whoever he needs to speak to, he speaks to them just for the sake of opening an avenue to spread Krishna consciousness. And that is described as Prabhupada's boldness. He would do anything for the propagation of Krishna consciousness. So we too, in our small way, when it comes to book distribution, when it comes to talking to other people, telling them about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Harinam Sankirtan, then we should do that. We should not shy away from it and think that we are not qualified whatever knowledge we have is useless knowledge if it's not shared. So we should always try to do that. Dealing with his other mail, Prabhupada took care of several managerial issues. So he's looking through his letters. So dealing with his other mail, he sent a letter to Abhiram Dasa in Calcutta inquiring about the progress in acquiring the park across the street from the temple. Prabhupada told him to concentrate his energies on this, and he referred to it as Bhakti Vedanta Park. So, on the one hand, he's corresponding with government officials. On the other hand, he's trying to attain the park for the, and he calls it, they have not yet attained it, but he already calls it the Bhakti Vedanta Park. He has so much of confidence in his desires, that his desires will be fulfilled. And he's encouraging the devotees to do everything they can to try and procure that land. Guru Kripa Maharaj is leaving very shortly for Japan, so Prabhupada gave him a letter to hand deliver to Trivikrama Swami. Okay, we'll skip that. Let's go to the next one. Independence. Locally, Bhalabhadra Das, who lives on the Big Island of Hawaii, requested a short interview to discuss a new and successful business he is doing. Distributing raw honey for a big apiary. His letter, given in the morning, explained that the potential was very great. He estimates that within a year or two, devotees could be selling up to 500,000 pounds of honey per annum throughout the United States. In 9 months, he sold 95,000 pounds at a profit of 10 cents per pound. But Sukadeva Prabhu has not been enthusiastic to get involved. Balabhadra is keen to see the operation expand because he sees it as prasadam distribution. Balabhadra also gave to Prabhupada some of the honey he sells as a gift. So we have to do something, whether we are living at the temple, whether we are at home, we have to do something constructive so that we can survive and also make a contribution to the temple so that the temple survives. And this Prabhu is giving us the example, Balabhadra Das. He's got the innovative idea of selling raw honey, and he in that way get an income so that they can maintain themselves. What does Srila Prabhupada think about this? Srila Prabhupada agreed to see him this afternoon, just after his rest period. Siddha Swarupa Maharaj was also there. Balabhadra came right from the garden where he had been working all day and didn't have a shirt on. Prabhupada noticed he wasn't wearing his Brahmana thread and asked him why. Balabhadra explained that he had not been following very strictly and had taken it off, not feeling himself qualified to wear it. Prabhupada turned to Siddha Swarupa Maharaj, asking him to get one, and he then had Balabhadra put it on. So, we should not neglect wearing our Brahman threads, because it is going to remind, just like Tilak reminds us that we have to, back to that verse again, 927, whatever we say, whatever we do, whatever we eat, wherever we go, we have to be conscious of what we're doing all the time. And we must be aware that in whoever we meet, even if it is the lower living entities, they are all representatives of God. They are all God's children. They are all Krishna's children. Krishna is the Supreme Father. So we have to be, that reminds us that we have to be tolerant, patient, understanding in our relationships with everybody. Not only human beings, even the lower entities. For about 10 minutes, Balabhadra explained his ideas for developing his business. His main point was that it offered an ideal way for grahastas who were not doing Sankirtan to earn a living and still be doing something Krishna conscious. His main point was that it offered an ideal way for grihastas who were not doing Sankirtan to earn a living and still be doing something Krishna conscious. So it's all about Krishna consciousness. Whatever we do, we have to make sure that we are doing it for Krishna, otherwise it's a waste of time. We said in the beginning that we should always make sure that whatever we do is going to get a profit, we're going to make a profit. So if it's not Krishna conscious, what profit are we going to have? We'll have a temporary profit, small temporary happiness maybe, but it's not going to be everlasting. It's not going to help us to attain the ultimate goal. That profit is not going to contribute to the attainment of the ultimate goal, which is eternal joy and bliss in the spiritual world. So it's almost, we got some important points for our own understanding here from these diaries. Any comments? Please give your understanding, your thoughts. Any questions? Yes, Prabhu.
Haribo, in the most palatable way. I was thinking about a current scenario that I'm experiencing myself where two devotees, or a group of devotees, two different groups of devotees, have two different opinions of how something should happen. In the process of coming to some form of compromise, it seems as if two parties are going in two separate directions. Do you have any suggestions of how to make amends and keep that devotee relationship strong?
That's a difficult one because everybody has their independence, and because it's human nature, we think that we are right. But when you come to a higher level and higher understanding, then we can understand that our goal is to please Krishna, not ourselves. So if both people come to this realization, and if somebody can make them aware of it, that this is not about whether you are right or whether I am right, it's about what's going to please Krishna. If somehow we can come to that understanding, then I'm sure we can resolve the situation. But of course, the understanding has to be there. And if I think that I am right and my way is better, and he thinks that his way is better, then we're not going to come to any resolve. But once we put Krishna in the center, then it might work. Not might work, it will work. Because they say even in a marriage, that as long as Krishna is in the center, then there's no chance of separation. But if Krishna is not there, and then you're working for sense gratification, each one's pleasure, each one thinking about what can I get from you and what are you going to give me, like that, then it may not work because there might be dissatisfaction. But if it is for the satisfaction of Krishna and both are working towards that goal, then there shouldn't be any problem.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Anybody else? So it's 8:30 now. So,
Hare Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Sorry, man. Just to help Prabhu with his answer for his question, I don't know if I'm going to give the right...
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah. So I think, and what I always try to do in my personal life is to say, what would Prabhupada do if he was put in this scenario? What suggestion would he give to resolve? And if we come to and when we come to a compromise on what Prabhupada would say, I think then we'll have a closer, harmonious working relationship.
Yes, Prabhu. And he even mentions it here in that controversy between the two thoughts here. He tries to engage that Prabhu, and he says, come, let's build that temple on that land, contribute towards that. So in that way, if we try to engage in a way that is not biased, open way, then I suppose the person can come to some compromise.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Also, the part that you're reading was a very controversial part because a lot of devotees were not happy with why Prabhupada accepted Siddha Swarup in the community of devotees, because he was practicing something a bit more deviant from our ISKCON philosophy.
Yes.
But Prabhupada always had faith that maybe with our influence and our perseverance and our philosophy, we can see the good in other people and also bring them closer to ISKCON. Rather than shun them away, see what we can do to bring them closer to our movement.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Prabhu. If there's no further questions or comments, thank you very much for your attendance and patience. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.